great to have you join us this weekend on Capital Markets. Welcome on board. I'm Temple Ashaju. In the month of April, global equities were mixed with reflections of geopolitical tensions, trade warfares, economic data, and the first quarter results of companies all around the world. But domestically speaking, Treasury bills here, the yields contracted by 350 basis points on average, driven by surplus liquidity, declining inflation rate, and of course more parameters that adjust trading all around in terms of sideways experience that we've seen all over the market, both from the equity side down to the fixed income side of things. On Capital Market this evening, we will review all of these performances with focus on how these numbers are crunched in the month of April. Of course, we'll do a bit of weekly analysis as well. But let's start off with a bit of news now. And first on our radar is the Nigerian Stock Exchange hosting the ASEA conference. The Nigerian Stock Exchange emerged the preferred host of the 22nd annual conference of the African Securities Exchanges Association. The 23-member exchanges forum will hold in Lagos between November the 25th through to the 27th of that same month. Themed Champions on the Rise, Africa's Ascension to a More Sustainable Future. The 2018 edition promises a robust agenda and with an array of thought leaders and over 1,000 delegates in attendance. The ASEA flagship event is Africa's foremost capital market summit. Nigeria won a similar hosting right for the 2009 edition, which was held in Abuja. Now, locally listed energy company Fortea Oil plans to sell its upstream services and power businesses in Nigeria and divest from Ghana. The company, majorly owned by billionaire Mr. Femi Otedola, is also reported to be in talks with a major refinery to form a strategic partnership for local refining of petroleum products. Fortea Oil's unit in Ghana has declared losses over the last 3 years and has uncollectible trade debts due to tough economic conditions and a currency devaluation in the cocoa-rich country. The company says it will use proceeds from the divestments to expand its downstream fuel distribution business and to invest into storage infrastructure. Now, NSE-listed brewer Guinness Nigeria PLC Wednesday announced the directorate's change in its board as the chief executive officer, Mr. Pt.1, steps down to take up a new role within Diageo PLC, the parent company. In a statement to the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the brewer notes that his counterpart, Mr. Baker Magunda, who manages Meta Abo Brewery in Ethiopia, will take over as the new CEO of Guinness Nigeria in due course. Mr. Ndegwa has been at Guinness Nigeria for about 3 years, transforming the company with a successful rights issue and the implementation of other productivity programs evident in the third quarter financial performance of the company. Now let's go back in time to the month of April. Earlier in the month, concerns were hinged primarily on technology shares weakness amid potentially greater government regulations all around the world. The jitters of trade wars was also evident in a lot of markets. The U.S. equity, for example, snapped losses in what was a volatile month, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the Standard & Poor's 500 advancing by 0.25% and 0.27% each. But then going locally now to the Nigerian market, investors remain bearish in the equities market as the all share index dropped for the third consecutive month by 0.57% following 11 sessions of losses. And if you put that together, you have 4.41% loss for that period in terms of volume. There were 9 sessions of gains, and it's cumulatively it came in at 3.87% for the market. But most sessions were relatively quiet, as reflected in the lower volume and value of trades at the 8.46 billion units and 106.11 billion naira referenced in total. But so Quadras Capital reports in its monthly analysis of the market that the losses recorded in the benchmark index during the month largely reflects an extension of the market correction following the strong gains recorded in the second half of 2017 and January 2018. All these has muted positive sentiments surrounding strengthening macroeconomic fundamentals. But sectorally, 3 of the 5 major indices closed in the red. Industrials, goods sector, insurance, and the banking sectors were mainly in the red for the month of April. And that's despite the broadly positive first quarter 2018 earnings of bellwether stocks such as Dangote Cement and Zenith Bank, which trickled into the market, and investors traders had expected that to trigger a positive sentiment in the market, but the reverse was the case. A loss in the mutual benefit shares made the stock for the month to top the losers chart, pulling down the insurance index to the south. Meanwhile, positive sentiments in oil and gas stocks, particularly for companies with major stakes in the upstream sector, such as O&O and Seplat, booked the stocks the top and the 6th positions on the Guinness chart, respectively. The strong rally in oil prices, which closed at 4-year high of $75 and 17 cents per barrel, was responsible for the boost in investor sentiments towards oil and gas stocks like Seplat, while the significant gain in O&O is attributable to the lifting of the SEC-imposed technical suspension on the stock late last year, following corporate governance issues, which also prompted the need for an audit. Let's take a look at what the fixed income market looked like for the month of April too. In terms of the debt market now, the 4th month of the year saw Treasury bill yields contracting by 350 basis points on average to 11.24%. Sentiment was bullish on the back of surplus system liquidity, reduced supply of bills at the primary market auctions. Expectations of a rate cut at the April MPC meeting and the excess demand at the CBN's open market operations auctions were some of the major movers of the market. But notably, average yield dropped across all ends of the curve, with the 17th of May 2018 paper, 30th of August 2018 notes, and 15th of November 2018 security recording significant contractions. There were also 2 primary auctions in the month of April. During the month,